Says I'm live. This is a first for me. No, there's no one there. This is kind of a way for me to document some of the notes that I've been taking. I've been going through a little bit of Jurassic Park. Unique thing about this is one of these is the actual Jurassic Park paperweight, authentic Jurassic World, and the other one is just a prop made. They both look the exact same, except the Jurassic Park, which is this one, a little bit thinner, a little bit taller. I don't know if you can really tell, a little bit fatter and shorter, but not by much. All right, I want to tell you about my notes here. I've ordered a couple things on Amazon to help me do a little bit of a production. I've got some Cuban Guayabera shirts coming in. I think I'm going to dress them up in kind of dark clothes. That way that Jurassic Park reveal when he's all in white makes more of an impact and more of a statement. I think I'm going to either paint this hat black or get a black hat when I make my little fan film. I've got the location set for the Isla Sorna and Isla Nublar, but I just want to document these notes that I've taken. I've got everything kind of like handwritten down. I have John Alfred Hammond, born 1913, and there's a deaths here. Actually, there's another birth date for John Hammond in 1928, and a couple of deaths, 89 death or 97 death. I'm thinking that he's possibly modeled after Lou Wasserman, the creator of the corporation Universal. The fun fact about Wasserman and Hammond, they were both born in 1913. A little bit of bioengineering notes here, DNA genetics. We have the first two gentlemen, James Watson and Francis Crick, that are given the discovery of DNA, deciphering the structure of DNA. Biotechnology, there are no laws and it's uncontrolled. There's no governing body for the commerce of biotechnology on a molecular level. I think that has a lot to do with kind of like what's going on. The intelligent policy is just too difficult to govern and regulate. I have a note here about the John Hammond canes. If you notice in Jurassic Park, the Numero Uno film, you'll notice that in the Mr. DNA, the film part of the little attraction ride, the first ride that they go on, and John Hammond's talking to John Hammond. You'll notice in that video he has a brown cane. It's almost like a double helix, almost. To me, that represents that first specimen that was created. Then we see him with the gray kind of segmented cane. To me, that almost seems like that could either be the new Velociraptor specimen, or it could be good old-fashioned T-Rex. what's going on is there's a commercializing in biotechnology. A little comment here that says thoughtless and frivolous. I have to go back and figure out what I was talking about there. We have engine commercializing genetic ingenuity, researching molecular genetics for 30 years. Science is a free and open inquiry. And in 1953, that's the date that James Watson and Francis Crick had their discovery, which was the deciphering the structure of DNA. The next date that we have, 53, this is in the real world here. We have April 1976 with Robert Swanson and Herbert Boyer with gene splicing, the genetic link. In my opinion, Isla Sorna, I know we talk about that being Site B, and Nublar, Site A. And we also know about the Bribri or the Bri Indian tribe. So that's why they moved from Nublar, Sorna, and then something's going to happen on Sorna, back to Nublar that they causes those Indians hands off the island. Isla Sorna is the original habitat for the labs and the original dinosaur observations. They're going to start out with the bigger dinosaur, the one that we see at the beginning of Jurassic Park, you know, the brachiosaur. You know, these things are going to need some time to attain that level of maturity. You know, you just can't expedite natural processes. It takes around 10, 12, 14, 15 years for an elephant to reach maturity. It goes along those same lines with like alligators. And so we're going to have to look at different maturity levels on different animals. 5 island chain, Cinco Muertos, 5 deaths. One of the things that we might want to look into is, when did that island chain get that name? And did it get that name based on what happened at Isla Sorna, which caused them to move to Isla Nublar? I'm thinking that something could have happened to cause that with the dinosaurs. If we look at what John Hammond says, some of the things that he says, you know, this one being every animal. To me, he's more hands-on. Engine International Genetic Technologies Incorporated, Costa Rica, Sorna, Isla Nublar. Isla Sorna is 87 miles southwest of Nublar and 207 miles west of Costa Rica. Isla Nublar is 120 miles west of Costa Rica. Cool ideas. John Hammond is a ringmaster on a street with the flea circus. Imagine an argument with his wife about, you know, where money's coming from. He's almost like a father. He's got to be in his early 40s, mid 40s. He's just kind of failed a bit. We'll get back into that. I'm researching flea circuses right now. Hammond's wife could die in Nairobi. He has a wife. I'm basing it off of Wasserman. Wasserman's wife was Edith. They were married in 1936. I want to say they're married in 26. So he got married when he was 23 and remained married for the entire course of his life. I have a couple of theories about who Hammond's wife could be. I have Hammond as having just one daughter, one child. It'd be the same as Wasserman. I have some things about human cloning. So I'll leave that alone right now. I have a scene here where it would be Hammond and his daughter. He would actually be constructing the flea circus with his daughter and then naming the flea circus after her. I have Wasserman's daughter's name was Lynn, and I have Hammond's daughter's name is Lily. Right now, I can't find anywhere where it makes any mention of a name, and I really like having Wasserman as part of that. Suitcase, table legs, flea circus. I'm having him do that like his father had done it before him. And what I did was I had my little story here that I've created. I have Hammond's father dying in 1933. Hammond's father dying in 1933, which puts Hammond at 20 years old. And one of the things that John Hammond's father did was he was a ringmaster, which is where he followed his trade. Some time goes by. We have another scene where John Hammond's on the street with the flea circus, and a man approaches Hammond, who was watching the show from the side, and offers him a job overseeing a wildlife preserve in Nairobi, in Africa. This is where the starting of the cloning comes from. So it's going to be right after that 1953 date to 1957. That would leave 4 years for kind of science to happen, and then for Hammond to be approached for this. Now, this is going to be a way of cloning animals, like actual animals. The thing is Hammond's not going to know it right off the bat. It's going to be information he's going to be given as time progresses.
Yeah, never tool. Wish I was too old to stop smelling them.
Gentleman says that he works for a group of investors that need a face with kind of the energy that Hammond possesses, and everything would be paid for. His family would be taken care of and paid for, and this is an opportunity that would change his life for the better in ways that he would never be able to comprehend truly, and that the organization that gentleman's working for is willing to spare no expense, where that spare no expense starts coming into play. I really want to reiterate some of the quotes that Hammond uses, almost like he's regurgitating things that he's overheard or people have said to him in a position of power, and then he finds himself in a position of power, and then he's regurgitating the same things that have been said to someone else. Looking at Hammond being the face for a faceless organization, and the voice for voiceless organization. I don't know if you're familiar with the term patsy, but that's almost kind of like how Hammond is brought in to this kind of little organization. J.H. Lee Circus, Petticoat Lane. And then actual facts known we have is 1976, the term engine was actually created. So engine was created in 1976. We have a lot of time going on right there. And another thing that we know is that John Hammond's name is not associated with the creation of InGen. We know that. That's fact. One thing that I'd like to include would be the inclusion of clothing or cloning, almost like there was a Time Life article that came out, I want to say in 95 or 96, might be 96, 97, where they had discussed Dolly, the sheep from cloning. And I'm trying to recall, I read this article a long time ago. I don't have access to it right now. I probably need to look it up. But I want to say that this cloning experiment was done in Scotland. I'm not sure about that. Have to find the parallel there. I got a big question mark right there. It would be just like a flash scene. I mean, there's a couple different routes that storyline could actually go through. In my opinion, Hammond is the voice and the face of the silent partners, which are now known as InGen, and the people that are truly responsible for everything don't want to put themselves out there, so they need to have someone who is Hammond. Something we know about John Alfred Hammond. Now, I like to take all the information and then try to synthesize it, kind of look at everything that's going on. So I wanted to keep that kind of name Parker they had that I found and make that a nickname for him. It's almost like he's developed this nickname Parker at the African preserve where he would find himself parked and sleeping with the animals during observations. His wife wouldn't stay with him, and you're Parker. And with it in my mind, something along like that. Have the nickname Parker from parking, and his full name would be John Alfred Hammond, but only a few people would know that. All right, some things that we know about. We know that his daughter is getting divorced. And if we compare that, and I'll get into some further notes, that we know his daughter's getting divorced. We know that he hates inspections because they slow everything down. That's where sparing no expense comes into play. Rostagno, the man at the Dominican Republic mines, he would almost be like a mini John Hammond, his right-hand man, someone that Hammond picks up during his first exploration, trust and a rapport with him, and he is right-hand man there. That's why he has a little bit of that personal information about Mr. Hammond. The name of the amber mine in the Dominican Republic is the Hand of God, at least according to my research, what I know about language. Hand of God mines. A digger. We know Hammond's a digger. That's another little clue that's given up there. Rostagno, the name of the man managing mines. And then we know that he has a partner, or a so-called partner, in Benjamin Lockwood. Used technology, clone his dead daughter. At the time of Fallen Kingdom, when we find this out, the clone is 10 to 12 years old. Somewhere around there. Wood's journal photo book that he keeps that we never really get access to, except the cover could be a journal of the failed cloning attempts. Could be more than just a photo album. Something to think about instead of just memories of the daughter or that photo book. Dates. I wrote down here, I think this is wrong though. 1964 was the height of the flea circus. And then Tom Palmer, aka Tony and Druzzi, wrote a book in 1975. Interesting thing here is when I was looking at everything, Michael Crichton said that John Alfred Hammond is the dark side of Walt Disney. In my opinion, Hammond is the fall guy if anything were to happen. And he's the face and the front man for these silent partners, these group of investors that he's referring to. These are people that he reports to. 1993, we know Jurassic Park opened in theaters. Potential fun wife idea for John Alfred Hammond would be to make her the author Patricia Lauber, who in 1958 wrote the book The Runaway Flea Circus. Could be a fun idea to play with. It was just something I wrote. True founders of InGen. Who are they? We know that Donald Gennaro is the attorney, and if you look in between the lines and you use your inference skills, you can kind of tell that Gennaro's reporting to Hammond's higher ups. Why? Really got to listen in between the lines. Isla Sorna Site B, Isla Nublar Site A. And they are to feed the site in San Diego. Which is cool because if they just labeled the sites, then we know that Site A was Nublar. Nublar. You have the Indian tribe there, decide not to interfere with the Indians, move to Site B. Incident happens on Site B, which we don't know about yet. Move back to Site A, relocate the Indian tribe, and now this is where we have Jurassic Park being built concurrently while San Diego's going on. The International Genetics Technologies Incorporated of Palo Alto. All secrets are safe in Central America. I'm going to think about any connections with Dominican Republic and Costa Rica. Look into that. And August 1989 is an important date. Pinion Hammond scopes out Isla Sorna as the first island. It'd be Nublar. Masrani. I just want to incorporate everything into it, like it's all been part of this world. Yes, we have Masrani, Masscom Network. In my opinion, there was like in order to tie in like everything that's been going on within the Jurassic world itself would be to have Masscom as part of it very early on. And if you look at the history of Masscom, you see that in 1973, they got fiber optic cabling, and then in 1979, satellite phones. So if that's when they're introducing it to the public, then that means that they've done a lot of testing prior to that. So that's where I'm getting into this technology being used. And I have written down when Hammond is on Sorna and Nublar and in the Amber Mines, he's using this technology to communicate with the silent partners and the investors, almost like a movie in the 90s that came out called Congo, where telecommunications, almost something kind of like that. And another interesting thing is the current date. I want to say that Simon Ronnie and Masscom Network have 94% of the digital communication satellites. We know that 1969, John Hammond's Animal Kingdom, Nairobi, Kenya, is official. So I want to say that time from 57 to 69, in my mind, in my imagination, that allows a certain amount of time for an elephant to reach maturity, and this is where we get the elephant connection to the elephant. And I'll touch into that in a little while. So from 1969 to the creation of Engine 1975, we have 6 years. Important about those 6 years, what happens in those 6 years, we know that it's definitely important. I have a 1991 to 1987 note here about the Bribri tribe. They had to be moved off Isla Nublar, and Hammond makes this happen. Does Hammond make this happen? 1913, Hammond was born in Edinburgh, Scotland. Wasserman's birthday. Amber mines. Amber mines are in Argentina, Siberia, or Baltic, and Wyoming. A unique thing about the mines in the Dominican Republic are the specimens there are some of the only that have a luminescent property, which to me would have made a huge impact. And I know it would have been the same as kind of like the gold and amber, but when you shine that light on that amber that comes out of the mines in the Dominican Republic, it actually glows blue, which is extremely dynamic, and it's one of the only places on Earth where it does that. Who is Wu? Wu's goal is to have the world's most complete genome library. He's going to come into the storyline later on. He was on my mind at that moment, so I wanted to write that down. John Alfred Hammond or John Parker Hammond. Parker could be a nickname. Talked about that. Jaw quotes. I guarantee it. Feel instantly about people as a gift. See, these have got to be things that he's almost regurgitating because he's heard it said to him. Like, I can tell instantly about people as a gift. It's like almost the tactic that he was told. These are almost like things that he's told by a handler. There's a pebble in my shoe that represents my investors. Right up your alley. I'll be accepting your apology. Jurassic Park, I'll show you. John has 2 different canes, white segmented cane. He uses primarily through the film, and a brown twisted cane with amber. He holds up an informational video at the park. Idea, John on Island with young Brachiosaur, Gallimimus, Triceratops. These are the first hatchings, so there's really not a whole lot of violence or anything to be scared of, and this is where the excitement of the zoological. More they uncover, the more samples they get, the more creatures creating. And so some of them, they were the very first ones, they were very lucky on herbisaurs, but then later on they start getting a bit dangerous. Hatchings, birthings, feedings. DNA, the building blocks of life, blueprints. So where to look. So there's a conversation that has to happen or go on about needing to extract, be able to find viable resource. So where to look. There has to be a conversation about possible mosquitoes and amber, and then where the location of those mines are, and then Hammond going on a scouting mission to these mines to recruit and to hire people, get them the samples that they need in order to create their specimens. We're looking in mosquito sap, amber, fossilized amber. We know that one DNA strand takes one person 8 hours a day, 2 years. Gene sequencing code. Gene sequencing code. I have a original video there. Another quote: I insist on being here when they're born, when they are born. And then I have him, like, when he's there with the Velociraptors, and like, they're good, push. And he's there, and he's like, I insist on being present for the birth of every living creature. When he goes into that, he's repeating himself, like these are words that he's used in the past several times. So it would be neat, in my opinion, to see that in the past as we see it in that first film. The cool thing would be to tie in the gourmet chef Alejandro, the Chilean sea bass who's hungry. It'd be neat to have Alejandro as part of an expedition who is just constantly coming along with absolutely spectacular designs. I don't think you're giving us our due credit. Some things that I've noticed. He has a gold and agate pinky ring on. I think it's called a statement ring. And then his watch is agate also. Now, the unique thing about agate is they get that in Africa, or a specific place in Africa, especially the type of color that he was wearing. And then you'll notice that in the second film, that ring moves from here to here. It goes from the pinky to here. Right here. This is prime territory. What's the significance behind that? If there's any significance behind that. How can we stand in the light of discovery? Alligators that are fighting here, so how can we stand in the door of discovery? Just have to appreciate what I'm trying to do. I don't believe it. Which leg is hurt and how did it happen? I've gone back and watched the videos millions of times. And I just can't age. I think when you're older, your hips start going out. And I think it could come from a period of time that he spent prior to this moment, during all of this, from Africa to Nublar to Sorna. You find yourself observation and then trying to stay safe and secure, you'll find yourself being locked up in certain positions, like you might only be on one side. So I could see during a period of time that he developed this, or in the very first movie, you see the lawyer almost slip in the Dominican Republic. You can have a scene where Hammond actually slips and falls and hurts his hip. I have a couple of notes there on that. A couple different things could have happened. Could be a dinosaur incident. Could be an African animal incident. Could be age. John is told to spare no expense. He is told this from who? The pebble in his shoe? I don't blame people for the mistakes. I do ask that they pay for them. I don't blame people for the mistakes. I ask that they pay for them. Blame people for the mistakes. Another quote John was told by someone else. See, I see him regurgitating quotes that he was told by someone. Secretly, engine and masscom testing and sharing technologies together, along with the United States government. The Lew Wasserman timeline. I have him born. Okay, this is where we compare timeline with Wasserman with Hammond and try to create some similarities. Lew Wasserman, born March 22nd, 1913, died June 3rd, 2002. He was married to Edith Beckerman in 1936. They stayed married until Lew's death. They were married for 66 years. Career, 1933. He was an usher in the theater, 20 years old. And from like the 1930s through the 40s, we kind of don't know what happens. He becomes a booking agent for MCA, which was founded by Jules Stein. And then by the mid 1940s, he owns MCA, Music Corporation of America. In 1950, he comes up with tax avoidance ideas. So he says that instead of you working for the company, you are the company. And there's some tax relief on that. In 1962, he purchases Universal Studios and Decca Records. In 1966, he forms the MPAA. 1990, 30 years running company. Then he sold to Japanese Consumer Electronics, Matsushita Electric in 1990. In 1993, he created City Walk. In 1995, the controlling interest was then purchased by Seagram's, and he was on the board until 1998. And I still think you go to Universal Studios, you will see his name on the glass right now. 1995 Presidential Award, the Medal of Freedom. 1996 Television Hall of Fame. And in 2002, he died from stroke complications. In 2007, he was given the 2,349th star on the Walk of Fame. I have a story here about John Hammond's daughter. Married Edith Beckerman, Jewish, both Jewish, passed away August 18th, 2011. They had one child together, a daughter, Lynn K. Wasserman. She married an agent within MCA, Ron Leaf. They had one daughter, Carol Ann Leaf, and then they divorced. He remarried a stockbroker, Jack Meyerowitz, and they had a son, Casey Wasserman, and then that marriage ends in divorce. So if we look at that, we get the daughter, we get the granddaughter and the grandson from the two marriages. It's just almost kind of like the timeline was kind of like pulled and then pushed. 1998, Wasserman's grandson starts the WMGA, the Wasserman Media Group, also CEO and acting president of the Wasserman Foundation. Started in 1952. Now we're going to try to convert the timeline of Wasserman into Hammond. In 1913, born in Edinburgh, Scotland, John's father used to police service. 1933, John's father dies. John works at a theater as an usher, and John also uses a police circus on the weekends where he meets his wife, Edna. 1936, John marries Edna, and I have question marks by the name. I just wanted to keep a little similarity between the two. 1936, John marries Edna, moves to London. 1940, they have a daughter. And while this is going on, he's a big dreamer. He's an optimist. He's just a dreamer. He wants to make something big happen. And he's always talking about, making something big happen. His wife is like, I believe in you and your dreams. They have a daughter, and I wrote her name down to be Lily. We really don't know what the name is, but to have it start with an L, since Wasserman's daughter started with an L. Hammond, 1954, failed jobs, flea circus for money. So if he has this daughter in 1940, 1954, that makes her 14 and 54. 1954, Hammond is approached to oversee a zoo wildlife preserve while on the street with his flea circus. Hammond is told of a team of investors that believe in him as a person and need him to be the ringmaster or the scene boss. The only person you'll ever refer to won't be one, it'll be plural investors that John reports to. Everything will be taken care of. These investors wish to spare no expense in any of the endeavors John is sent on. John tells his wife. They agree. They move to Africa. We got 1954 to 1969. We have John begins building a zoo or wildlife preserve in Africa, but with animals brought in from where? There's also these special medical teams and anti-poaching assault squads that are part of this. His wife runs the home there in Africa with his daughter Lily. Conversation in 1957 about the ability. So he's in the park now for a little bit, and now we get a conversation about cloning. They're finally bringing John into what's really going on. So he has this conversation about the ability to clone, and they have an elephant, and they produce this elephant, and this elephant is the first genetic test of cloning. They want to see exactly how long it will take this elephant to reach maturity and if it will even live at all. So that's why 1969 is very important. In 1969, the elephant reaches maturity. It's a milestone, and boom, now we have Hammond's Preserve. Elephant reaches maturity. New conversation about how you would feel about managing a new park. We have another conversation here. Managing a new park and one full of dinosaurs. We don't have the dinosaurs yet. We need you to go on a mission, try to secure amber that has the material in it to create dinosaurs. So John Hammond needs to go on an expedition. This is where the nickname Parker comes into play when he parks in observance of the dinosaurs on the Sorna. Or I have that as a note there. To Dominican Republic, mine amber, which holds ancient mosquitoes. If you can get intact mosquito with blood with the amber, there's a 100% chance of recreating whatever that specimen is. This drives John Hammond further. He leaves his wife and his daughter behind in Africa while he goes on expedition. So now we have 1970 through, and I have a little question mark here because it's really it's kind of hard with the dates a little bit because you really have to be on point with the animals, and also not just the animals but technology and also just age. So Hammond's first expedition to the Dominican Republic, I'm going to say, is like 1970. Where he meets a young Rostogno. I'm putting him probably as a teen right there. I think that the ages match up there. This is the first use of mass comm technology and the first mention of a U.S. government partner. In 1975, I have the Costa Rican government establishing Isla Nublar and Sorna. That partnership has worked out, and Hammond is now the owner or the land leaser from that land. In 1977, I have the first clone, which is a Triceratops. And that Triceratops is taken to Isla Sorna. So in 1979, I have a first incident, whatever that incident is, at Isla Sorna. And this is when um,
It feels really good.
there's a relocation to Isla Nublar, and the Bribri tribe relocated around 1980, 1981. Moved to Nublar, and then I have 1983. And that's where I'm at with my notes. A lot of my notes are in my brain, in my head. It's kind of like where my mind is right now on it. I'd love to know what you think about it.
Next time you ask me to do something,
Anyone here?
just do me a favor.
This was mostly just for my record keeping and to share some thoughts. That's it. My name's Jeremy. I have this little channel called Sandbar Soap with Surfers. That's Sandbars of A Surfers. It's the name of a little show I'd like to make, kind of dealing with surfing and entertainment, but I also love me some Jurassic Park. I've been studying filmmaking almost my whole life, storytelling, screenwriting. Went to college. I have a degree in acting directing. I won the Children's Emmy Award with the video series I wrote on character development. I won the directing award while I was at college. I've been doing a lot of things independently and freelancing, and now I'm just trying to take that professional step and get out of freelancing and really try to work. It's very hard to freelance that I'm finding. Had a few nice jobs, but I guess I'm going to try to make me a little independent Jurassic Park movie. I've already shot me a couple of scenes, but it's just like rehearsal scenes. I just wanted to get what was in my head out and a way to kind of look at it, kind of doing everything on my own. And hopefully I get a chance to meet some people, do some cool work with some people. All right. Thank you. I'm ending this stream now.